when you go to a temple, when you perform worship, don't wear any stitched cloth. You are going to God. You are not going to show Him how much money you have. You are going to show Him what you are. This emphasis of individual consciousness is very important. As we go into primitive tribes, we find that they have very little consciousness of their individuality apart from the group. They are entirely more or less identified. They can never be completely identified for the simple reason that they are human beings. But for all practical purposes, it is the group which takes the lead. An individual feels himself only an instrument of that group rather than having an individuality of his own. Vedanta wants to emphasize this individual consciousness. First of all, we must become conscious of ourselves. Unless we become conscious of ourselves, we will not be able to do anything, we will not be able to create anything. To know ourselves as conscious being, it is necessary to analyze what we really are. Now we are identifying ourselves with things which belong to us, but which is not our very self, our very nature. Take, for example, the body. Most of the time we identify ourselves with the body. We feel, I am the body. But if we analyze even a little, we find that from childhood, body has gone through number of changes. I have remained the same. Many of you are quite grown up, and you will agree that your body fails for many desires that you have, but your desires have remained the same. You have not changed. You have the desires. It is the body which is incapable of obeying you, of doing what you would like it to do. Now, if we consciously keep ourselves aware of the fact, then we will be able to create rather than consider ourselves slave to the body. Body has limitations, we are not denying that. And for this, the method of introspection becomes very important. It is by introspection that first we will attain to self-realization, and then the Upanishads will tell us that this self which you have realized is not at all different from the cosmic self. But that is something way ahead. At the moment, we have to first become conscious being rather than being controlled by the unconscious elements. The Upanishad says here, Iyam Prithvi Sarvesham Bhutanam Madhu. Because this body-mind complex is product of the unmanifest, the avyakta, the nature, the prakriti. It is created by that because that is its material cause. The more we identify ourselves with it, because it is born out of the unconscious material, we also become more and more unconscious. Out of this store of participation mystique, out of this store of immense unconscious energy, it is only a human being which can canalize just a part of it, a very small part of it. For most of us, over which we can have some control. Most of the time we will be controlled by our unconscious, controlled by matter. With great effort we will be able to bring out a small canal over which we have some control. Most of the people don't want to do it, because the mechanism of convention keeps people away from this self-realization, because it is less of a burden. We follow a particular custom as a ritual without bothering about a conscious choice. Most of the things in our lives are controlled by certain customs, certain practices prevalent in the society, in the nation that we are in the group that we are in. And we automatically do it, never trying to analyze, with the result that power of conscious choice becomes less and less. The Upanishad says that you have to make this canal over which you can have control. The unconscious must be won over. But that means we have to leave our laziness. Most of the time, the rituals, the customs, the mechanism of convention, it keeps us away from the necessity of making up our minds. That laziness, we don't want to make up our minds, we want someone else to make up our minds for us. As you know, most of our thinking is going to be done by machines. Slowly, computers are coming, robots will come, more and more thinking will be done by them in a mechanical way. We feel quite happy about it. I am not against the robots or the computers. But the question is, what you are saving in thinking there, what are you going to do with it? It is something like this. The car was manufactured so that we can cut down our time in traveling. But slowly what happens? Now we build big cities, and again we are spending the same 3-4 hours in our cars. The time that we saved is not being utilized for anything else, but again we are doing the same traveling. So if computers merely mean that we are going to make still better computers, then what is the use of having those computers? If it frees our mind and we utilize it for the art of living, for making life happier, then it is of some use. Otherwise it will make us only lazier and lazier. Just as the children today have not learned great scientific facts in place of mathematics.